So guys, today we are back on the 2017 STI project car. I have been driving it for the last week and a half or so. I think I put about 320 miles on the car. Everything's been going great other than a few little things here and there we'll talk about later on. In today's video, we're going to catch up on some maintenance, and we're going to start by doing a manual transmission service and a rear differential service. We've already got the car jacked up and level, supported on jack stands. So now what we got to do is dive underneath and start draining out that old gear oil. So guys, it just seems as time goes on, Subaru and other auto manufacturers are making it more and more difficult to service your own vehicle. They want you to bring it back to the dealership. Today on doing this simple gear oil replacement for the manual transmission. On Subarus, it used to be super easy. Used to be a 22mm drain plug on the bottom of the transmission housing. Used to have a dipstick on the passenger side of the vehicle. Fill it up with gear oil through the top after draining it out the bottom, and check it with the dipstick. All good to go, done. Well, now there are two drains on the bottom of the 6-speed transmission. One is a T70 Torx, and the other, I believe, is a 10mm hex. No longer do we have a simple 22mm socket, and no longer do we have a dipstick tube and a dipstick on top. We now have a dummy plug right there, a 10mm dummy plug. We got the intercooler out of the way so we can access that dummy plug so we can make it easier to service this transmission. How Subaru wants you to service it is to pull out the T70 and pull out the 10mm underneath and drain it. Then there is a 10mm plug on the side that you are supposed to pump 4+ quarts of gear oil into the side of this transmission. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to sit there and pump 4.3 quarts of gear oil in the side of a transmission underneath the car when I can come up here and stick a funnel right there in that plug and just pour it directly in like we used to in the good old days. So that's why the intercooler's out of the way. It's really quick, easy to do. You've got a clamp here, you got the clamps here, you've got a 12, two 12s on the recirculation valve, a 12 on either side of the intercooler to mount it. And that's basically it. The intercooler pops up. So got that out of the way. Got that broken free. It's just hand tight in there. Now we're going to get underneath, remove the two drains, and drain this transmission. So guys, here are our two drains. We've got the T70 here on our clutch housing, and then we've got the oil pan with the 10mm hex. We'll break both of those free. First, we need to break free the fuel/check plug on the side of the transmission. I already broke it free. It's right over here on the side. It's a 10mm hex. We'll take that out, and then we'll take these out and get the gear oil draining. The gear oil is cold. I haven't driven the car, so it will take quite a while for it to drain out. But once it's all drained out, we'll put the plugs back in, and then we'll put a funnel in that top plug I showed you earlier and fill up 4.3 quarts or until gear oil starts flowing out of the check plug on the side. We'll put those plugs back in and we'll be all done with the transmission and can move back to the rear differential. Gear oil is very clear. Looks like this might have been serviced recently, but I didn't know the service history of it, so I wanted to go ahead and drain it. Make sure we know the starting service date and make sure there's no big chunks of metal in the transmission, and there's barely anything on the drain plug, but as clear as this is, looks like it was serviced not too long ago. So we'll go ahead and remove both of the drain plugs and let it start draining. So now again, as that drains, we will go ahead and remove technically our fuel plug, but again, we're gonna use it as a check plug because I don't wanna pump gear oil on the side of this transmission we can just pour it in the top with a funnel. But if you don't want to remove your intercooler, that's where you would fill the gear oil. You pump it into there until it starts dribbling out, much like servicing the CVTs. All right, now that we've essentially drained out, we're gonna go ahead and reinstall the drain plugs. I'm not worried about this little bit. This stuff is really fresh and light colored, so it's not been in there too long. So we're really doing the service in vain more than likely, but again, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So our T70 here will be torqued to 70 Newton meters. Our other plugs will be torqued to 50 Newton meters. There is a one-time use crush gasket on all of these plugs. I have reused them many times in the past. I do not have part numbers for you, nor do I have a replacement on hand for myself, so that's why you are not seeing me replace it. So 70 Newton meters. And done. $50 Newton meters. All right, now we can go top side and fill this 6-speed back up with fresh 7590 gear oil. Again, we're just gonna fill with a funnel through that top port until it starts dribbling out this port, and that's when we know we've got the full capacity. Should take the 4.3. Got the car as level as possible, but we might be off a little bit. All right, guys, we've got our funnel in there. And then we can start pouring our gear oil and hopefully not spilling it because I'm trying to pour looking through the camera. So we're just gonna pour it in here again, 4.3 US quarts. All right, guys, so I got 4 quarts in it and it started coming out the side. So it's reasonable to assume that there was still 0.3 quarts in there. So we're gonna go ahead and install our chick plug, tighten it to 50 Newton meters, and we're all done aside from cleaning up the spilled gear oil. And then we can go ahead and move to our rear differential service. Help if I turn the torque wrench on first. And all set. Spray down the transmission case with a little bit of the good stuff, a little brake parts cleaner. And we're all done with our transmission service. All right, now on to the rear differential. We've got a 17mm drain plug there. Above that, we've got the temperature sensor for the rear differential. We'll take that pigtail off, take that sensor out. We will fill our gear oil through the hole that sensor mounts in. We'll fill until it starts dribbling back out. Should be about 1 US quart. All right, guys, so 24mm socket for our rear diff temp sensor. Looks like we were a little overfull in our rear differential, or we're not quite level. And 17mm drain. lot darker back here. Been a while since the rear diff's been serviced. Definitely has not been serviced at the same time as the transmission was. That gear oil was much clearer and cleaner. So we'll go ahead and let this drain. We'll clean up our plug and get ready to pump our new gear oil into the rear diff. All right, now that we've drained out, go ahead and install our drain plug. Again, there's a new gasket for both the temp sensor and the drain plug. Do not have either. Have reused them in the past without leakage. Don't have the part number for you, but if you want to replace them, go ahead and do so. I would be replacing them if I had them on hand. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and torque the plug to 60 Newton meters. And we'll start putting our fresh gear oil into the rear diff. And no easy way to fill this. We gotta use a fluid syringe to transfer it up in there, which is a long, tedious, painful process, but we'll get it done. 1.1 quart is the spec for the STI rear diff. I believe it's 0.8 of a quart if you're doing a WRX. All right, we are full. Go ahead and put this temp sensor back in and torque it to 60 Newton meters. And torqued. A little spritz of brake parts cleaner. Hook our wiring harness back up. And we're good to go. All right, guys, and that'll do it for servicing the 6-speed transmission and rear differential gear oil in the 2017 STI. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one.